Welcome to the news. In our first story, the family of a 14-year-old boy allegedly shot by the police last September during a spontaneous demonstration by some irate youth in the Wa municipality is blaming the police for not cooperating in order to get justice for the victim. Spokesperson Akakpo says the police has done very little to help their cause as they dilly-dally with the issue, impeding their pursuit for justice. Rafiq Salam reports on this issue from Wa.
Irate youth of Wa on September 16, 2022 spilled the streets in anger over suspected ritual killings in the Wa municipality. It was on a Friday, and 14-year-old Hafiz Ibrahim, a practicing Muslim, was on his way home from Friday prayers when he was caught in the melee. He was allegedly hit by a stray bullet by the police in their attempt to ward off the demonstrators from destroying and looting shops of some West African nationals. Hafiz was rushed to the Upper West Regional Hospital where he was admitted and the leg later amputated. Medical director of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Dr. Robert Amesia, performed the surgery.
During the surgical exploration, we realized that those two wounds were connected. I cannot for certain say it was a bullet, but I'm very sure that it was a missile wound because it's something that communicated. It means that it entered from one end, most probably the front, and exited at the other end.
The cost of medication and amputation was pegged a little over 6,000 Ghana cedis and paid by his poor parents who are doing menial jobs. One main thing on the wish list of Hafiz and his family is for the latter to get prosthetic to ease his mobility challenges. One municipal chief executive, Isako Tire Movement, got wind of the plea and came to his rescue through the District Assembly's Disability Fund.
As you can see, he lost part of the limb, and that posed a challenge for him in his daily activities and, of course, going to school. Authorities of the Wa Municipal Assembly, the management of the Disability Fund Committee have decided to support the family to acquire him a prosthetic limb so that can facilitate his movement. And in that regard, the Assembly is presenting a check of 4,000 cedis to the family to support them to acquire the limb from the Wa Regional Hospital. The total cost of maintenance, it is not a one-off cost. It is a cost that will keep coming up because maintaining a situation like this cannot be a one-off situation. But this is the beginning. So we start from here. So if there are other incidental costs or costs coming up later on, so we can look at the best way to support them.
Ever since the incident occurred, the family of Hafiz has been pursuing the police for justice. But it appears the arrogant posture of the police is not helping matters. Uncle of Hafiz, Kwaku, who received a check on his behalf while thanking the Wa Municipal Assembly for coming to their aid, was not happy with the posture of the police on the issue.
On the side of the police, they're even adamant. Nobody has come to say anything. Since we took the thing, they even asked us how we got to know that it was a bullet that got the boy. So they said we should go and wait. Anytime they're ready, they will call us. We are not happy and we will never be happy with it because justice has not been served. I mean, when they come in to take charge of expenses and also restore the boy to some level, we will know that justice has been done.
The Upper West Region Police Command, meanwhile, has strenuously denied any of their personnel shooting the 14-year-old that resulted in the amputation of his leg on that fateful day. Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Next up, a former Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Kwaku Osam, has described government's decision to include pensioners in the domestic debt exchange program as abominable. He's worried that the situation has forced the elderly to speak publicly about their health in demanding for their own money. Professor Osam joined pensioners on Monday to picket the Ministry of Finance to continue their demand for exemption from the domestic debt exchange. There is more in this report.
It is day 6 of the picketing at the Ministry of Finance. Pensioners may have weak bodies, but they are strong-willed, promising never to back down. So for 1 hour daily, they besiege the office of the Finance Minister to remind him that they want to be exempted from the domestic debt exchange program. The big picketer of the day is the former Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Kwaku Osam. He also describes the situation of senior citizens picketing daily as abominable.
Why should we as a country get to the stage where an elderly man like him has to tell the whole world his health challenges? That's not right. That's not fair. That's not righteous. That's not kind for a country to do. It's abominable. It's an abomination.
Another picketer, a former General Secretary of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, Charles Fojo Ajiman, who is not a retiree, also joined the pensioners to press home their demands.
If we believe that they have a good cause, we should be joining them. And we should show a good cause to them that, yes, we support their cause. And I believe that, and as a matter of principle, I don't think that as a nation, we should let the aged who have carefully planned their pension to depend on their pension returns to be the ones whose money will be used.
Professor Osam called on the government to listen to growing calls to exempt pensioners.
You think I'll advise my children to invest in anything government? Of course not, I won't. I won't, because I say, well, you can go ahead and do it, but remember that it's risky. And nobody can convince me that, as I said, I'm not a finance expert, I'm not an economist, but right now, nobody can convince me in this country that investing in anything government is not risky.
Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta has, however, not changed his position. He wants pensioners to sacrifice to save the economy.
The challenge that we have is that we have an economic crisis.
But last Friday, former Chief Justice of the Republic, Justice Sophia Akufo, described this position as rude.
I find this wicked, I find it disrespectful, I find it unlawful, I find it totally wrong, period.
An 81-year-old retired medical doctor also appealed to the government.
Nobody would look after me. I lost my wife. I live alone. Who will look after me? That means government wants me to get rid of me.
Since the government is said to have achieved the set 80% subscription target for the program, the pensioners are hopeful the finance minister will exempt them.
I expect him to just say the pensioners has been exempted. He will be giving an update on what has happened, the results, fine. But I expect a statement to come, because at this time, you can't get us into the program. Okay. It's close. You can't get. Maybe previously, he was standing on his grounds, thinking that some people would come under, but now it's over. Okay. So we just have to exempt it. And we don't want to be self-exempt people, no.
But until then, the pensioners return on Tuesday to continue with the picketing. James Kwesi Aveji's report read to you.
Meanwhile, the Individual Bondholders Association of Ghana is also set to picket the Finance Ministry to demand that government honor its obligation on bonds that have matured. Last week, bonds worth more than 4 billion cedis matured, but government is yet to pay. The individual bondholders say this is completely unacceptable and that they will picket at the Finance Ministry for 4 days, starting from Monday, the 20th of February. Kwaku Asante has more in this report.
So after several hours of meeting here at the Greater Accra Region Police Command, the police have finally agreed that the Individual Bondholders Forum cannot go ahead and picket to demand that the Finance Ministry honor their obligations under the bond agreements that these individuals have with government. We know that last week, some of the bonds fell due. Government has not honored it still. According to lawyer Martin Kwebu and Dr. Akwete, who are leading the organization, they want government to know that this is not something they are going to allow, and that if government does not come out clearly stating exactly on what terms they are going to pay them, they will keep picketing at the finance ministry.
Okay, so technically we're not going on the same path. What we're simply asking of government is to honor the bonds that are due. Because before we went into the DDE program, we had an understanding that it's a voluntary process. And so government is expected that if one opts out, their coupons are honored. And so we are going strictly according to the documents we have and the assurance we had before this DDE program that all voluntary bondholders will not be penalized. They will be honored. And so that's just what we want. So we're not asking for anything out of what is due us, that's all.
Over the past week, the pensioners bondholders themselves have also been picketing at the finance ministry. They had such a boost when they were joined by former Chief Justice Sophia Akufo. It does not seem to have made any difference, but this group thinks that this will now make a difference.
This is going to make a huge difference. You know, this is coming on the back of our liberation by Chief Justice Sophia Akufo. You see, she gave us an impetus by coming to demonstrate, by picketing. So we are taking off from there. Look, Mr. Asante, it's not a joke. When we picket for 5 days, it's going to galvanize more support for our cause, because this is a cause that we must win at all costs, which is that individuals must be exempt. And government took a good step by saying they will honor existing bonds. So we're hoping that eventually then they will come to exemption, because, Mr. Asante, the point is that government is not presenting the agreement today to the IMF. They still have some time. Even if it were Friday, they can ask the IMF to give them some time to redraw the, the program, the debt exchange program, so that they specifically say individual bondholders are exempt. So we have a lot of time on our hands. And we believe that this picketing will help galvanize support for our cause.
From a point of view, the ministry has said that this is not compulsory, this is voluntary. So you can self-exempt and just expect that they'll pay you when your bonds fall due. Why are you still insisting that they give you specific instructions that says that you are exempted?
Yes, Mr. Asante, that is better security. Saying individual bondholders are exempt is better security. Having seen that, as we speak now, some bonds matured on the 6th of February. That was last Monday, about 4.2 billion. The actual figure is 4,185 million, but let's round it up to 4.2 billion. Government hasn't paid, and government hasn't had the courtesy to even talk to us, to even say anything about when that money will be paid. So you see some of the disadvantages when government doesn't use the word exempt. So government needs to communicate with us. As we speak now, the failure to pay that money is causing some of our members palpitations, sleepless nights, so much uncertainty, harrowing pain, because people don't know when they will be paid.
Reporting from the Greater Accra Region Police Headquarters here in Accra, Kwaku Asante for Joy News.
Let's talk energy now. And the Ghana Grid company, Gridco, says the dip in power supply in recent times is a result of the altering of their systems at Galamsey sites and the old legacy machines that need replacement. According to Gridco, substantial funding has been received to enable it reconstruct many of its old legacy lines in order to guarantee a more stable supply of power in the country. Chief Executive Officer of Gridco, Ebenezer Kofi Esienyi, indicates the recent commissioning of 3 substations will help guarantee stable power supply.
And we need to count on you to let us educate our brothers whose farms these lines go through, so that if there are trees that are in their farm, we may have to cut them. It will impact a little on some of their cocoa trees. It is not with bad intention, but it is for the good of all of us. That's why we do those things. You can see the picture that shows where a line passes. It's quite challenging. Some of the lines go through very thick forest. extremely thick. And the reason is that we also try to minimize the cutting or going through the forest without opening it up too much. That leads to those who go and illegally harvest the timber. So we blend the two in the way we do our things. Galamsey, I don't know whether the gold has started to normally form around the base of our towers. It's becoming a problem for us where galamseyers consciously dig under our lines. There are challenges where we needed to go and relocate the tower at an additional cost. The one that there was working so well, but you can see that the line guys who come and tell us that tower is collapsing because, or some of the steel members have been removed by the galamseyers, because I understand they use it to do whatever in their tunnels. I've never been to any of the tunnels, so I don't know how they do it, but that's what I understand. These are things that we need to let our brothers and sisters appreciate, that this infrastructure are there for our collective good and we need to protect them. Occasionally, as a power system, we normally have some challenges. Normally, when you see the lines, you don't see the fire on them, but they are extremely dangerous. Extremely. They are quiet, but they are extremely dangerous. And therefore, when we make the case that, look, we need to stay off the right of way because of challenges. Quite recently, a typical one tipper truck, when people see the corridor that are available, they assume it has no purpose. A tipper truck went, collected sand from somewhere, I think it's a waste kind of sand, tipping it, he forgot where he was standing, lifted the truck up. He did not touch the line, but all the tires got busted. There was fire on the line. It dropped somewhere that is close to our substation. Lucky for us, we saw it early, and fire service was called in to assist us. If he had gone further, I don't think the driver would have survived. For the tires to go burst like that, it is dangerous. Let's educate ourselves and stay away from it. Occasionally, we have challenges, a transformer fault. We are making a conscious effort to put in a system so that even if we have a challenge with one transformer, customers should not experience it. At times, I listen to radio and social media, and people make the case that Otenabruchi, 20 years, there's not been any light off. In the developed countries, for your house, you have about 3 or 4 access to your house. It's called reliability. First reliability, second, third. So the systems go off, but you, the consumer, you don't see. We are a developing country, limited resources, few people paying tax. We need to mobilize additional resources to move ourselves into that regime. The next one I'll talk about has to do with all legacy lines that we are making a conscious effort to reconstruct. Really, they will overlive their usefulness. We talk about the Western Corridor that has to do with from Prestia all the way towards Kumasi. So Takrade, Takwa, Prestia, Dunkwa, Ayamfuri, all those places towards Kumasi. That's we call it the Western Corridor. We are going through the emotions in line with the PFM for us to reconstruct that line.
His neighbors never understood his resolve to collect heaps of plastic waste in their community, but they later found out he was building a fortress for his home against the harsh weather conditions. Jonas Zomelo, a native of Kewuno in the Adan East district of the Greater Accra region, goes about fetching empty plastic bottles to rid his small village of filth. This is already reeling under the impact of rising sea levels and of plastic pollution. Imadi Bright Kwaku caught up with a carpenter who is poised to erect a tourist attraction with plastic in his village.
Amidst the clustered settlement along the Volta River in Keweno sits this well-crafted fence protecting a thatched house. The fence is designed and constructed with empty plastic bottles on a bamboo framework. As he welcomed a team of budding West African climate change journalists into his new home, Jonas Zomelo, the developer, explained the increasing plastic pollution at the community informed his innovation.
I'll be saying it's a waste on the environment. And I decided to use some technology for it. I'm not changing the form to this one. Okay. The idea just came there. I just went on YouTube. Then I saw some people to add in some.
A carpenter is conventionally known to be adept at using wood for his designs and constructions, but Jonas has a living irony to the woodcraft specialty. Realizing the detrimental effect of plastic waste on the environment, he added on the skill to reuse plastic waste from the beaches and behind the homes of his neighbors for a variety of artworks and buildings. It takes Jonas close to 24 hours to interlock the bottles and erect them as a fence.
Thinking of it, how to manage to do it. So if you see it, you can see that place. I've used rope for it. Then I decided, no, let me change the plan. So this one. So I'm planning to use more technology to try. First, I have a room here, bar. I scatter it and I want to use the same technology.
Okay.
So,
residents of Keweno endure the sweltering weather conditions with rising sea levels, which is gradually eroding their lands. The coastal village lacks a well-established waste management system, forcing residents to discard domestic waste behind their homes until they bulge into a pile of garbage mixed with sand. It is not a deliberate decision to dirty the community, but rather an interim solution to control flooding in the area.
When the water is flowing, you realize that it will flow and then it will build the arc like the way they've covered the place, and it will come this way, which means that if this is extended towards this place, the water will not affect it.
Okay.
Yes.
So how do they do it normally?
You just put the woods there and then start dumping.
However, this local solution could contribute to exacerbating the woes of residents in the community. They hope the local government authority would furnish them with a proper waste disposal mechanism. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kwaku.
And on that note of cleaning up, we cap off the news. But stay with us. Right up next, we serve you the news review. We'll be right back.